Good. Can you hear me okay? What's the volume there? Yeah? Cool. Well, thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Quentin Ford. I'm the co-founder of No Agency, or KNW, and our aim is to create a better, smarter, more connected business community here in Silicon Beach. Before we get started, I do want to do a little light housekeeping. I want to give a shout out to Control Collective for hosting us tonight. It's an awesome co-working space. If any of you guys are looking to, for an office space or just to, somewhere to come and get some work done on nights or weekends, go talk to Paulina, who she's way back there in that little room over there that says Lincoln. She's waving, and she can tell you about memberships and things like that. I also want to give a big shout out to Fisherman Labs, who's up here. They specialize in marketing, app development, and VR. And we're lucky enough to have Abe from Fisherman Labs on our panel tonight. So with that being said, and without any further ado, let's get this panel going. Gotta get my notes over here real quick. The first thing I want to have you guys do is if you could just introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about your background. And if we could start with you, Michelle,
sure.
That would be great.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Is it on? Is it good?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Planton. I am the Creative Strategy Director, and I also oversee our social media strategy for Click Media Group. We are a media, content, and commerce company. We own and operate whoatwear.com, birdie.com, My Domain, Obsessi, which is a Gen Z female-geared content platform, and we recently acquired College Fashionista. So we create content for the millennial and Gen Z female, wherever she may be on her digital journey. And I have a background in social media and creative direction for various influencers and brands in the digital publishing space.
Awesome. Zach?
Okay, so I actually am an influencer. I was a YouTube star. I started yelling in the bathroom and people watched it for some reason. Generated 70 million video views as a content creator, as an influencer. And then I went on to produce animation with another YouTuber, produced over 1 billion video views doing that. And as I still do that on the side, I also have a company called Rise9, which is basically a social network for social media influencers. We do these big private events for people like us because it's the only way we can really kind of see each other in a crowded space.
I've heard a lot about your parties.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
yeah, so have I.
It's the best one to be at, apparently.
Oh, really? I would not remember. I worked so much. Next thing you know, the party's done, everyone's left. I'm like, where's my Johnny Walker?
Right on. Here, I'm going to give you the mic.
Thank you. Hey, guys. It's on, right?
Yeah.
All right,
you got to get a little close on that one, though.
Gotcha. Maybe not that close. Abraham Gomez, CMO of Fisherman Labs. We're a pretty cool technology company, or agency. We make sure that we stay on the forefront of technology. We do VR, AR, app development, web stuff, marketing, and we also have a design agency. My background is I created two top 1,000 websites when I was younger. Those were my glory days, but that's fine. And yeah, cool stuff.
Right on. Cool. Well, let's hop right into it. So one of the first things I wanted to ask you guys is, they say content is king. Is that necessarily true? And the reason I ask that is because I've spent a lot of time going out and finding content that I can engage with myself, and I've found that to be very effective. So when I say is content king, is it really necessary to be producing a lot of good content, or should you be focused on engaging with content that you find out there? So whoever wants to take the mic first on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So they say content is king, but distribution is queen. And
Yeah.
I think that is true more than ever. I think there's a lot of content out there. It's a very noisy space. Everyone is a creator. Everyone's a blogger. Everyone is on every single platform. So what brands, publishers, smart influencers can do is really have a very clear perspective and a clear voice and a clear content mission that can cut through the noise, that really connects with people. People are still consuming content. They're spending more time than ever on these apps, but you want to cut through the noise and find something that resonates with you. So I do think it's important to put time into your content creation, but you want to find what your message and your mission is and distribute it to that audience on the appropriate platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to follow that up. So when you're starting out, like what's a good strategy to start developing your content? How do you know really what you're going to create? I mean, are you doing a lot of research on the people you're going after? You talked a little bit about Gen Z. How much preparation work are you doing ahead of time before creating content, going out there, making videos or blog posts and things like that?
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, but from a publishing perspective, we're a very data-driven company. So we look at, when we decided to create a platform for Gen Z, we first did a lot of focus groups, just talking to them on social media, figured out what they wanted to hear, where they're spending the most time, what messages really resonate with them, because we didn't want to just be creating content for the sake of creating content. We wanted to create something that mattered to these girls. So we honed in on the platforms that they were on the most by asking them, and they told us, and also just looking at data trends. And then we, just by knowing those social networks so well and publishing on them all the time for our other brands, learned how to create a really optimized message for that user.
Awesome. Do you have anything to say to that, Zach?
Yeah, that's actually really interesting to hear because that's like one side of the coin.
Right.
For me, I'm kind of on the other side where basically I like to create things that I can have fun with. I don't necessarily have a focus group, or I don't sit here and say this is my target audience. I ask myself, what type of content can I create with what limited resources I would have at the time, and would I have fun creating that content? And then as you start to put that content out there, you begin to build this community, and your community engages with the content, your content evolves with that community. So a lot of what we do is we have our users submit their own ideas for content. Sometimes we'll like animate these cultural moments, and people will say, hey, we'd love to see you do something about Donald Trump playing Pokemon Go. Can you do that? And we will do that.
We do the same thing. I was just talking about like when we we're trying to figure out which platforms to identify for our content strategy. But we have found, to go back to my earlier point, sort of what you were saying, people really respond to a one-to-one connection with the person, and they want to feel like that content comes from you and something that you're really excited to share. So once we have figured out the platforms that we want to go after, it's really editorial jurisdiction and conversation with our reader that guides our message.
Great. Abe, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So with us on our end, everything we do is based off of data. So on the content end, we don't really focus on it a lot anymore. When I used to run websites, like content was king. It always will be king. But it also matters when you post, like the content calendar, content strategy, like all that stuff is very important. But yeah, data driven for our clients. Basically, each client that we have has their demo, has their stuff in place, and then what we do is we test against like our test audiences to kind of refine everything that we're doing. That's really broad, but yeah, that's basically.
Okay, great. So when you're starting something like, Zach, for you, it might be creating a YouTube video, and Michelle, for you, it might be creating a blog post. But do you start with the main thing and then break down that content into bite-sized pieces for all the different social networks? Is that kind of the strategy that you take with it?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I can answer it from our perspective as producers. So animation is really expensive, and we've actually been lucky enough to create direct ROI off our YouTube videos. And what we do is we focus on creating bite-sized content that makes the money back immediately. And then we'll take the bite-sized content and either reformat it for something like Facebook or Instagram, or put it together into a longer form video as like a compilation to take advantage of YouTube's watch time algorithm. So we had like 100 individual. We animate your mama jokes. I mean, come on, mate. I'm gonna sit here and pretend like I'm top dog, and this is like really high quality, like adult content, for the mature audience. But we animate like these little bite-sized mama jokes that viewers submit to us to animate, and we put them together into like 100 Mama jokes video. It's like 30 minutes long, and now it has over 76 million video views. So we create content like that on a regular basis.
Right.
Yeah, for us, it can go both ways. So we have an editorial calendar. We have editorial teams for all of our websites, and those editors pitch story ideas. But they're not just pitching those story ideas in a vacuum to their editorial director. They're pitching them to the editorial director, but the video team is copied, and the social editors are copied, and the audience development team is, and we'll provide suggestions for how we can further amplify that message or optimize it. So we also understand where our audience is the most active and the types of messages that resonate on those platforms. So the reverse of that may be true, where, okay, Pinterest is a #1 traffic driving platform for us. Obviously, we want to create content that caters to that platform if our main KPI is visits to our site. So we'll look at, okay, what are they responding to on Pinterest, and what are some meaningful stories that we can tell as a brand on that platform? So then it's a win-win.
Great. Do you have anything to add to that? Or?
No, I am not a Pinterest guy.
Right on. Anything on yours?
No, not.
Okay.
No.
So, I mean, this is super basic, but, you know, is there any form of content right now, be it video, pictures, or blog articles that's really better than others? I know Facebook's putting a lot of attention in video, and those are getting a lot of a reach. But do you find that maybe blog articles work really well, or pictures or videos? Is there any one that stands out amongst the rest?
I guess it really depends on the company. Like, if you want to generate revenue through your website, you obviously want web clicks. If you know, engagement's your thing, then you want video or imagery. So it just really depends on the company. So for us specifically, like on the pages that I own, we currently reach about 150 million people per week. And we're able to generate about 80 million to 120 million visitors to our website per month. So for us specifically, like if we want to drive engagement, it's going to be video. If you want to drive revenue, it's obviously web clicks, right? So links on social platforms. So it just depends.
For the video that you're trying to drive engagement with, is there like a certain amount of time that your video is? Is it like under
The
2
shorter the
minutes
better.
or shorter the better?
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're able to look at all that stuff through whatever platform you're on. They all have their insights and analytical data placed in there. So if you look what's trending, it's always shorter videos, you know, that it's easier to resonate with, and you're able to grab what you're trying to sell faster. Like, people don't like to spend a ton of time on watching videos. So the shorter the better. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's my feedback.
Besides that, is there any other kind of standards that you apply to videos to kind of give yourself a better chance, maybe?
You want to answer that?
I think it's more like a follow-up question.
Yeah. So
It is.
I didn't really hear it.
So I'm just saying, is there any sort of standards when it comes to videos that you can apply to your videos that'll give you a better shot of being successful? Sort of besides being short, is there anything else? Is there a certain type of format that is more successful than others, or?
Yeah, again, so with us, it really just depends on the client or what type of videos we're doing. It's more like day-to-day, that's not really like what I do. I don't really do content. So that'd be a better question for like the data scientists that we have, or our content strategy team. Yeah, sorry.
Right. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, for me, it's, you know, again, slightly different story. You're producing animation, it's expensive, and you want to try to stretch your content as much as possible. But the beautiful thing about animation is you can actually take a screenshot of something and it will work really well as a photo. Even when I did my videos, like talking to a camera, people would take screenshots of my moments and then put the quotes in the photos and then blast them over Tumblr or Facebook. So I always like to think as video content, I can turn into really great imagery content. And you can only make so many videos in a span of time. You can't keep, I mean, if you're BuzzFeed, then yeah, you can pump that stuff out. But for someone like us, you know, we can't produce a lot of animation as much as like BuzzFeed produces their videos. So we try to take our videos and create it into imagery content to supplement any type of dead air or dead space that may be in a feed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You want your production dollars to go as far as possible. So if you are creating a beautiful video, I agree you want to create those shareable moments from it that you can use to promote that video, or tell maybe a shorter story on a different social network to either create engagement there or to drive them back to that video. And you can do that via static imagery, pulled quotes from it, which everyone loves to retweet, or their curiosity is piqued when they see a quote on social. So those are great marketing strategies. When it comes to some just general best practices for video content, I think you want to look at the ecosystem that you're planning to share that video on. Right now, if you are planning to distribute on Facebook, that's very discovery geared. Like, people aren't searching necessarily for video on that platform. They're finding it in their newsfeed via what people are sharing, versus YouTube is still a very search driven platform. So the intention behind the viewer is different on both. So you're likely going to see, at least for us, where we distribute content on both platforms, the retention rate is better on YouTube because people were seeking that type of content out. Whereas on Facebook, you'll probably get a lower retention rate, but a lot of immediate impressions, more shares, just because of the nature of that ecosystem. So you want to tailor your strategies based on where you plan to share that video. Since people have a short attention span and they're scrolling on Instagram and Facebook, you want to front load your video with anything that's eye-catching or important, because they're likely watching it on mute and they're deciding within the first second as they scroll past if they're going to continue to watch it or if they're going to tap to turn the sound on. So we always just try to make sure that it's as compelling an introduction as possible so that we can hook that reader in.
So what about blogging? I mean, it seems so hard, right? If I'm just starting my company and on my website I'm putting blog posts every day, who's reading that? So is that kind of a dying thing, and you're moving more towards video content and sort of picture-based stuff? Or how are you able to get your blog posts a lot of attention?
I think strong writing will always have a place, and especially in a very social media heavy publishing space, you have fewer words to convey your message. So you want somebody who can really articulate that and share it in a succinct and effective way. So I think whether you are sharing a story in written word via a string of social posts that combine equal a lot of words, or a story on a site, that's still going to be relevant and important. But it depends on the content that you're trying to share. If you're creating a professional geared blog, or a professional geared content destination, you're probably going to do well to have more written content that you can upload as an instant article on LinkedIn or something, because that's how your audience is going to consume it. But if you're creating content for someone that's just looking for something quick and digestible, visual is probably better for you.
So I know you do more video stuff. I was going to say, so have any of you guys done anything or any campaigns to help users generate the content for you?
Yeah, actually, that's our entire foundation. Every video that we put up, animation-wise, is all user-generated content. Our users will go in and fill up the comment section with all their ideas and all their jokes, and they'll go in and vote the jokes up or their ideas up, and then we animate that and showcase the comment at the end of the video. So people were like, so do you write it? No, we don't write it. We kind of take the idea and we kind of give it our own little twist or spin to it in some way, but it's great because now you got millions of people with so many different ideas that you would never even think of.
Awesome. So I want to move on to the different social networks.
Can I actually add something?
Go for it, yeah.
When it comes to getting that feedback from your audience, I actually really think that's direction a lot of brands should be moving in on social media, is using it as a way to close that feedback loop. We have a collection at Target called the Who What Wear collection that is actually, it was incepted because our readers asked us for these types of clothes, or we saw they were searching for these types of items. So we created a collection specifically with that feedback in mind. So we are using them to inform every part of our collection, whether it's we throw up on our Snapchat different fabric swatches and they screenshot to vote on their favorites, and then we actually make a shirt with that feedback in mind and we let them know that. And then when that shirt is in stores and they take photos of it, we surface it on a collection Instagram that we have that's entirely dedicated to UGC and feedback. So I think if you are in the brand space, using social as a way to fuel your brand's decisions is really meaningful. And if you're in the publishing space, like what you guys do is so brilliant. You can do it no matter what business you're in.
Yeah. That's great. Do you guys do a lot to encourage people to, share pictures of them, wearing that collection and stuff like that?
Yeah, we do. Obviously, you want to reward that behavior if they're doing it, and we encourage it. So we'll say, like, share a photo with this hashtag, and we will, for the chains to be like featured on our Instagram account. We do UGC roundups on our site with different photos each month of some of our favorite outfits featuring the collection. We'll do giveaways. We do one, I believe, every single week where we'll ask a question like, how would you style this look, or what type of pant would you like to see in our upcoming collection? And we'll ask them to respond either with the hashtag or with the photos, so we can really involve them in every step.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have a favorite social network to work on? Do you like, for example, Facebook over Twitter, or Instagram over Facebook?
The list of social networks is exhausting, and we are on every single one of them, and we want to be first responders on them when it's appropriate for us. So again, I think it really depends on your objectives and your KPIs. For Obsessi, which is our social media only, there's no website for it. It exists entirely on social media, our Gen Z brand. Snapchat is really fun there because those girls use Snapchat as we use texting. Like, they say they're too lazy to text, so they'll just Snapchat each other. And so that's a really exciting space for that brand. But for My Domain, which is more for the millennial woman who's very career focused, maybe it's a mother, like, Facebook has been a very engaging place for us, as well as Instagram. That's a place where they feel they can be very vocal and comment. That audience is not very engaged on Twitter, but other brands I've worked with, Twitter has been an engaging space. So I really think it depends on your audience and your content.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'd like to add to that is, social media platforms, they evolve over time into something else. And it's really interesting to see Facebook take on this reflection of what YouTube used to be. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of content that does really well on Facebook that used to would do really well on YouTube. And what it comes down to is that with Facebook, people want to watch those small bite-sized videos, those more viral style of videos, comedy skits, cat beats up a dog, whatever. And with YouTube, it's all about this watch time algorithm. Mm-hmm. And it's actually hurt like a lot of the animators in my industry. And we just have been lucky enough to kind of crack the code on that. But, when it comes to more high quality content, it does well on Facebook, but it definitely serves itself more on YouTube. And I think for a lot of content creators like myself, it comes down to how you're going to make your bottom line. Where's that money coming from? And, when you have all these different platforms trying to play around with this video space, that's cool and everything. You should try to invest and build up that audience before everybody else kind of, rat race their way over. But for us as animators, as an animation studio, YouTube is really king for us, and Facebook is queen, and Instagram is great because it's a younger demographic audience that Facebook just doesn't really have anymore.
Yeah.
You say you kind of cracked the algorithm. Do you care to share any more about that, or are you going to keep that secret?
We always just kind of break the code. We did with Facebook a couple years back. Actually, got kind of wind that they weren't really too proud of their algorithm giving us 100,000 new page likes a day. And then they turn it off, and then they realize, wait, we should turn it back on. Let's see how it works with YouTube. We encourage our fans to engage with the videos so much that every video kept hitting the front page of YouTube when there was still a front page. So right now, what we get to benefit from is, taking these bite-sized videos and putting them together and getting like these crazy watch times in our categories of animation. No one else is able to produce the amount of animation that we produce. And because of that, we actually make profit off of YouTube.
Right on. Abe, what about you? Do you have a favorite network? I know you're super into the analytics, so Facebook's probably up there.
Yeah. Again, like Michelle said, it kind of depends on the company or like who you are. Understanding what social media works with your audience and is something that everyone needs to figure out on their own. But for us specifically, it's Facebook. That's what we like and understand really well. So yeah.
Right on. So once you spend all the time like making this content, whether it's video, blogs, or stuff on Instagram, how are you getting that out there? not only to all the different social networks, but Zach, you and I had talked earlier about finding different communities to kind of dip into and share your content. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so we like to really dive into moments that happen in culture, right? And if we did something around like Rick and Morty and Pokemon Go, what happens is the audience will share those videos to those communities that they're a part of. We did a Frozen Breaking Bad parody a couple of years ago called "Do You Want to Build a Meth Lab?" As you can imagine, Disney was very happy with that one, and it blew up. You know, the Frozen part of it like really captured the attention of parents, and parents actually made videos of them sitting down watching this video with their kid, covering the kid's eye like several times, to like Breaking Bad people going nuts over it. Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston both put out the video on social media. AMC commented on the video. So yeah, create content that's going to dive into these different communities. You know, if you're a big community like us, like animation, you can dive into so many different sub communities. For you, it's probably different because you have a very like niche community, it seems like.
Yeah, we employ a lot of those same strategies though. Like we have a community manager who's not only managing and engaging with our existing community, but looking for communities that are hyper engaged around specific topics who might be interested in our content. So if we do a editorial with a celebrity, we are going to let her fan groups know, and we are going to DM them on Twitter or Instagram and be like, hey, we did this, you guys might be interested in it, here's the link. So it kind of goes both ways, but I think hyper engaged community spaces is another direction that social is going in. If you look at the rise of Facebook groups, like I'm guessing you guys are all in at least one Facebook group, and you probably noticed in your newsfeed how now in about the third module down, you're getting notifications of recent activity in those groups. So Facebook has noticed that this behavior is happening. They've made it a lot more discoverable to find new groups that you might enjoy. So I think people want to have these spaces where they feel like they can talk to one another freely and have these shared interests. And that's an opportunity. If you realize that part of your community is super interested in a topic, you want to cultivate that conversation, you can create a group around that. So we created a group for our super users for one of our brands. It's a private Facebook group. And if we are interested in surfacing voices for, let's say, our post-election coverage, we'll send them all a note, say, hey, we'd like to share some thoughts from our readers on the election results. Do any of you want to participate? And immediately they're responding. So you can create them, and then you can also seek them out to market your content.
So, what's great about Facebook groups? They're not scary like Reddit is. Reddit, just like every time I post in there, I'm getting hated on no matter what I do. I can't seem to beat that. So big fan of Facebook groups,
yeah.
And it's super engaging there. Mm-hmm. So depending on where you join, so I like it a lot. Actually, Michelle, I wanted to ask you. So you have the brand Obsessi, mm-hmm. And you don't have a website for it or anything. You're engaging sort of on Snapchat, did you say? Is that kind of the main area?
Yeah, it's an omni-channel social brand. So if you go to obsessi.com, it will literally just direct you to our different social networks. So we have a presence primarily on Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook because that's where the Gen Z user is the most. But we also have a YouTube page, Spotify account, Tumblr, Pinterest.
How are you turning those people into customers?
Well, we're not selling anything for Obsessi. We will have commerce integrated organically with our content. Anything that we do with a brand by way of like sponsored edit, it's all integration. We can't run banner ads on our Instagram or anything like that. So it all has to be meaningful integration, which works well because we know that that's how Gen Z responds to brands. They want a story, they want a connection, they want to have conversation with them. So we offer brands a way to make that connection. We know what will resonate with this reader. We don't have a house voice as a brand, so everything comes from an editor point of view. So that's another way that we're communicating with them that's unique. And so if we have product recommendations, instead of doing like a carousel ad or a banner ad, an editor will actually talk about those products, why she likes them, and then we'll provide them with a link to shop them.
Awesome. Yeah. Abe, so I know you do a lot of paid search or paid ads, both on search and social. And I know Facebook's super hot right now as far as the ROI.
Yeah.
Do you see that continuing with Facebook, or are you sort of a fan of search ads more? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think most companies should be doing both. With search, I think most people, when people are using search, they're really looking for a business or something to interact with or purchase, whatever it may be. And social, you're really able to get influenced by like your friends and stuff. So you definitely have to be doing both.
Do you think that social is taking a lot away from search right now?
Definitely, yeah. I've been at Google and they got upset with me because we were talking about basically a lot of, so I don't know if you guys know what Google DFP is, Google AdSense. That's basically where I've made most of my money. But I was at Google and we were talking about, Google advertising, right? So Google AdSense was a huge moneymaker for Google. Then Facebook Instant Articles came in and they started their Facebook ad network. And, I'm driving impressions to my website. And the big thing was like, all right, Facebook is really driving traffic for me right now. And they're also going to start paying me. So why am I going to take my traffic from Facebook to Google if Google is essentially, like, basically, you guys know what Facebook Instant Articles is, right? Like, it's just instant advertising's in there. So talking to some people there, that was one of the biggest hurdles, is that Facebook is aggressively taking on Google and YouTube, right? That's like their main purpose. And me as a Google partner and, making most of my money through Google was like, should I stick with you guys or do I just go with Facebook because they're making it so convenient? Most of my traffic comes from Facebook anyways. So yeah.
Yeah, totally destroying the search ads, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, search is still really really important, so you definitely have to do it.
Okay, but they're extremely different in the way that they sort of gather traffic, right? One in search, you're actually going after a certain product or service, right?
Yeah.
And then in social, you're just kind of popping up in front of the right customers. Mm-hmm. How do you think if Facebook's been able to target the right customers for you? I know you do it on the back end, really, but why do you think they've been able to be so much better when it's just sort of popping up in your feed?
Yeah, so with that, kind of goes down to, it depends on, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Trying to think of a good answer. Michelle would have this one. I know you got this one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, basically everything we do is based off of like who we're targeting, right? Facebook, you're able to see if that user is working or not. So if the person doesn't interact with it, it would stop showing up to them. So it's just, again, it just, hard to answer that one.
It seems like the thing is that Facebook, has a tremendous amount of data on people, and
they know what you like, their interests, your friends. They know a lot more about the person than Google would based off of search.
Yeah,
sure.
Which helps you target a lot better.
Yeah, I would say it's data, and then also on Facebook, if you have an ad or a piece of content that you're marketing, you get the benefit of engagement on it that people can see and that you can use. Like, you can take that feedback directly, and also the benefit of a network and other people seeing that their friends are commenting on things. So it's almost like you get this built-in earned media from something on Facebook. And on search, there are a lot of organic strategies that you can employ too to win there. So if you have a good audience development team or content strategy team in place, they'll be layering these in anyway. So if you have some money to spend and you are growing rapidly on Facebook, you might want to put it there where you don't have as many organic tools in your toolkit anymore if you're a brand or a page. Okay.
And I would also say, like, what's really interesting with Facebook, and I'm sure you guys noticed this, you go on Amazon, I need to buy a tent for like, a weekend type thing, getaway. You buy a tent, you go to Facebook, and suddenly that tent's like in your face like 5 or 10 times. So Facebook likes to collect data not just on their platform, but everywhere, and then try to put together the most convenient advertising profile they can put behind you.
And a lot of your other accounts are connected to your Facebook logins now,
Yeah.
so it's just compounded.
Okay, awesome. So, what's going on with Vine? How come Vine is just like, and YouTube is staying in there? Like, what happened with Vine as a video platform?
So we actually used to have a really big Vine account with over a million plus followers type thing, and we had over 500 million Vine loops.
Wow.
And back in 2014, we caught wind of what is possibly a memo that got passed around Vine. It was basically, look, let's cut out every brand account that we can. Whatever you got to figure out, whatever terms of service you think they can break, put it on them, delete the account immediately. We want to focus on personalities. And so we had a couple of Vine accounts that were just taken off overnight for sexual content, which I don't understand what we did to even do that. I mean, we're on YouTube, and YouTube's pretty strict. And there's a lot of people within the Vine community that cite 2014 as the beginning of the downfall. Because once you take out these big brands, people start to shy away from Vine. They start to lose a bit of the audience. And I'm not sure if you guys read the article that came out a few weeks ago about the Vine stars that sat down with Vine and said, look, we're here to work with you. Just work with us. We want to get paid. And, you know, they made a pretty fair, compelling argument. Like, look, pay us $1.2 million a piece and we'll create 12 pieces of content a month, which is more than what we're doing right now. Vine said no. So they said, okay, bye, Felicia. And then suddenly views dropped. And I think what really happened was, I think Vine's founder said this, like, you know, don't sell your company. And basically what he was trying to say is like, look, I sold my company too early to a bigger company that didn't even have their own stuff figured out. So how can they figure out Vine? And I think it's a mix of not recognizing that the platform was growing organically. So just let it grow the way it wants to grow, aka branded accounts, not monetizing the content, or at least incentivizing the influencers to stay. And on top of that, just really bad management overall. I mean, $10 million to run that a month.
Michelle, were you guys using Vine for any of your outreach?
No.
Very clearly
We
no.
used it a couple times to create a video that looked like a Vine, like for that stop motion effect, basically. And then Instagram gave us that capability. There were a lot of other ways that we could do it. And for us, it wasn't worth our traffic KPIs or audience development KPIs to invest heavily on that platform, because the demo wasn't aligned with the one that we're going after. And you can't drive people to a site as effectively on Vine as you can some of the other social networks.
Right on. Cool. So, you know, I wanted to talk about Facebook live streaming a bit as well. I mean, we're streaming right now. It seems to be the hot thing. Those videos have been getting a lot of attention. I don't know if any of you guys saw those social media counters during the election where Donald Trump's social media stats were posted and Hillary's were posted. It was just this sort of boring video that was getting millions and millions and millions of views and driving a lot of attention to whatever Facebook page posted it. Are you taking advantage of Facebook Live at all?
We are, yeah. It depends on, you have to think, like, does it make sense to do this live? Because if there's no benefit to doing it live, like if the audience isn't invested in the storytelling that you're doing or the experience that you're showcasing, the quality of Facebook Lives is still not the best. You can use their API and do a lot of things, but obviously you can't edit it or do any sort of like special features on them. So if you don't have any benefit to doing that live, you know, it might be better to do it as a standard produced video. I think also, since people are discovering most of the live videos and they are discovering them on mute, a lot of people make the mistake of doing a ton of like things that aren't as interesting in live video as live video. And then they're like, why aren't these performing? And it's because things like that video that you mentioned about the election do so well is because people are like invested in watching it throughout that piece of content. Like people that do live Q&As very well, if they have a celebrity influencer involved with their brand, are getting people to submit their questions ahead of time. Then they get to tune in to see if they're being answered. They're doing giveaways in real time. Like there needs to be some reason to keep those people who come across it in their newsfeed sustained throughout.
Go ahead.
Well, I also noticed this really interesting trend, and we actually used to do this on YouTube as well. So what we would do is we would take all of our content, create like this one super mega long video, and then stream that on YouTube as a live video. And the engagement was insane. And the reason we stopped was because it kept knocking out our uploads as like the notification. But what I'm seeing on Facebook, and something that I'm about to get into again, is taking video content that's already been created. And yeah, people think live, like go on and talk in person right there, right away. But a lot of people are taking pre-produced content, already produced content, and just streaming it on Facebook Live, and they're noticing that their engagement is skyrocketing. What happens a lot is people are getting notified more often of a live video, of a live stream, than they are of the actual video if it was just straightly uploaded.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about it, like it gets people more engaged in the video. They start to have these conversations about the moments in it, and you start to see the live chat go back and forth.
Yeah, I think that's, going back to my point, that's one of the elements that you can take advantage of in a live video. The live Q&A, taking reader feedback and making that somehow direct the direction of the video, I think is really interesting. But I think one thing that underlines what you and I are both saying is it's really like quality over quantity with live video. If you're doing a ton of live video and people are getting notified by you all the time, but you're not clicking through, guess what? Facebook's going to stop notifying those people when you're live. So you just want to make sure that it's aligned with your content strategy.
Awesome. So, I kind of touched on this a little bit with what I mentioned about Snapchat and how you're reaching your target audience there. But Instagram doesn't make it really easy to link out from, right? And it seemed like, when social media came into play, and for a long time, it was all about getting people engaged on social media so that you could send them out to another website and then turn them into a customer or whatever. But it seems now that a lot of people are sort of creating content just for the platform and keeping people within the platform because, Facebook will limit your reach if you're kind of outlinking, right? So how do you deal with that challenge, and specifically within Instagram, to get people to leave Instagram? I know there's links in bios and stuff like that, and you can kind of type things out, but it doesn't seem very effective to me. Is there anything special that you guys are doing?
You don't want to force someone into a transaction or force them out of the behavior that they're used to doing on that platform. So what we've seen with Instagram when it comes to shopping is people use it for inspiration. They're using it a lot like a magazine or something. They're screenshotting it. If they see something that they like, they're seeing where it's tagged. And then a lot of times they're going on their computer and looking it up. Or they're saving it for later and looking at it. There aren't a lot of click-through or transaction behaviors happening through Instagram, and I think that's fine. Instagram is a great place for awareness, for visibility, for brand lift. If you're working with an advertising partner and you have a wonderful presence on Instagram, they get to align with your name there and your reach in the feed. So I think there are a lot of other benefits that you can harness with Instagram rather than just guiding them to a link.
Okay. Do you have anything to say, Abe or Zach?
Yeah. What was the question again?
I'm just saying, there's a challenge of, it seems to me like, you want to get people off these social networks to your website to convert to a customer, and it's a bit of a challenge when Instagram doesn't really let you do that very well.
Internet, as we know, it's like changing consistently. And you have Google, Facebook, that really want to retain the user. Like you said before, it was about sending, creating the platform, having the social media presence, and then sending them out. Google created Google AMP. Facebook created Facebook Instant Articles. The reason is because they want to keep you on the platform, right? So as a company, you have to adapt to that. You're not going to be Facebook. You can be in Facebook. Facebook give you for e-commerce. Instagram, now you're able to purchase through there. So they're helping you. Basically, they just want to engulf the internet, which isn't. I mean, as we know, pretty soon, that's basically what's going to be. There's going to be like Facebook users that just stay on Facebook, right? And they visit websites and they really all just stay in the Facebook universe. So as a company, you just have to adapt to that. There's still neat ways of sending them to your website to do what you want them to do, but I mean, ultimately that's going to end up dying out. That's my feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And to your point, like you don't need to send them somewhere else all the time to
Exactly, yeah.
achieve your objectives. So you can use instant articles to share the same story that you put on your site. Like you actually can't publish an instant article unless that content is already on your website. In a different environment, a really compelling shoppable experience by like using a grid or showing the journey of like finding a product you like through Instagram stories, or like there are just other ways that you can harness the storytelling capabilities on that platform rather than the traditional blog article link to shop the product. And actually Instagram, you guys probably saw, is beta testing a shoppable feature or their version of shoppable in the platform with 20 retailers, and they're probably going to be rolling more into that in 2017, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, I've been tagging people in my stories. So,
Yeah, there you go.
It's like
Yeah.
a little kind of link.
Yeah.
So what's happening with Twitter? I mean, I use Twitter quite frequently, and I try to like reach out to a bunch of people and get some engagement there. But it seems like a really hard platform, and I spend a lot of time there, and it seems like I'm not getting a huge amount of results. I think I have like 15,000 followers on Twitter and like super unengaged, and maybe I'm just a boring guy. I don't know, but maybe you can shed some insights on how you can leverage Twitter or use it to drive traffic when it seems to me it's kind of dying.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this, because I think your content probably lends itself better to Twitter than ours does sometimes, or your audience might be there more. But for us, it's really leaning into what Twitter is best at, which is being a real-time newsy platform where you go to see what's happening around the world at any given moment. So the way that we can respond to that as a fashion and beauty and lifestyle publisher is, okay, it's a second screen device for entertainment moments. So red carpet coverage or award shows or other things that we know our readers watching in real time and might want a second screen experience for, we can be there in real time.
I don't touch it.
Yeah.
Not after Vine, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in the business of making money, and I never learned how to make money on Twitter. So RIP Twitter, never forget.
Actually,
There you go.
nah, this is interesting. So Twitter actually did the same thing that Vine did. I think it was last year. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. I'm getting old. Twitter started going through and just mass deleting a bunch of these branded meme accounts. And I know people that actually have like a dozen of these accounts, and they would make a living off them. They would make money, and obviously they had to figure out ways to kind of think outside that box. But again, it's that landscape that just doesn't quite know what it wants to be. And if it doesn't know what it wants to be, you don't really know how to work with it.
Yep.
Right on. Are any of you guys using any like content advertising networks like Taboola or Outbrain? Is there anything you can shed on that?
Yeah. For certain websites, we used to use it just because we were able to receive an ROI. So we would pay like 2 cents per click, and we would make 3 to 4 cents. So we did it for content-based websites. So like, just like, you guys know what that stuff is. So in that regards, it was really good to use back then. It's a good revenue source for certain content-based websites, but it's increasingly becoming more and more difficult to own a content-based website and make revenue through Outbrain and Taboola. For certain clients, it's a decent way to advertise through those platforms, but it just takes more time. They're not Google, they're not Facebook, they don't have the same analytical background and data that you get from those two platforms. So I feel like those platforms and companies like that were great from 2012 till late 2015. But ultimately, I feel like that's something that's gonna, I don't think it'll die out, but it isn't as prominent as it used to be.
Got it. Do you guys have anything to say about those types of networks?
Yeah, we use them. We've used a few to varying success. I think Some can have very competitive CPCs. Other times it's not a fit. We've been using Taboola for a while. We've used Outbrain before. Pub Exchange is a really interesting model. If any of you guys run publishing websites, they are a way that you can embed on your site a module that will funnel in content from partners that you have content swap relationships with. So they share your content, you share theirs, and it will watch how many clicks you're sending one another. So we have a large number of publishers that we are partners with, where we agree to send one another a certain amount of traffic each month or a number of social posts. And Pub Exchange will recognize how many clicks we've sent them. And if it sees that our partner owes us more to reciprocate, it will prioritize our content in their modules. So there are other tools like that that can be really interesting and beneficial, and a little bit more hands off if you don't have a big audience development team.
Okay, great. Zach, anything on that?
No, actually, I've been the type of guy to actually make money on the other side of that, driving traffic and getting paid per click. But for us, we work with multi-channel networks, and because we're top tier influencers, they actually handle all of our advertising for us. So that's been,
okay,
pretty good.
Yeah, one thing I was going to ask you is if you do any paid advertising to your videos.
Yeah, so we work with MCNs, and part of our dealings with our MCNs is they handle our advertisement on YouTube, and it's been pretty cool. What they do is maybe drop $1,000, let's say for an example, $1,000 to drive 1 million plus views to a video, and then they'll do what they can to recoup that cost. But if it makes like $2,000, they give us the extra 1,000. So that's the type of relationship we have.
Yeah, awesome, great. So I wanted to ask you, where you're, Zach specifically, where you're currently focusing most of your time. I know you have the Yo Mama channel, but you also have another animation channel as well, and you also have Rise9. So what's going on in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so some days I wake up and I'm like, why am I here? No, seriously, it's been kind of interesting. You want to still be a content creator in the space, because once you're a content creator and then you pivot into something else and let that kind of lag behind, you lose something special that other content creators look at towards. So I have 2 channels. I have animated memes, and Yo Mama, animated Yo Mama jokes. And I luckily have a strong team that handles a lot of the production work, and I just take 1 or 2 creative meetings a week. And then with Rise9, that's really where a lot of my passion and focus is at. For me, I've been a part of this industry since 2009, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen it blow up from a few thousand to a few million social media influencers. And one thing that we've noticed as influencers is that there's just no easy way to find one another. MCNs say they can help you out with collaborations. Sometimes that works, but that's a lot of manpower. You see a lot of these quote unquote marketplaces that pop up, and they definitely serve a focus and a purpose, but they're more catered towards the brands. And we at Rise9, we want to make sure that influencers can have an environment that's safe, that's high quality, that is not necessarily exclusive, but it has to have that kind of wall in place to make sure that everyone that comes in does provide value. And we're all about the influencer to influencer connection and relationship, because that's like the centric core of our industry, and we just don't think it's been solidified yet. It's just kind of all over the place, and it's getting more destabilized with each platform. So we actually have like a lot of Musical.ly people that now approach us and say, look, I heard a lot about you. I'm really big on Musical.ly, but I want to jump platform. I want to collaborate with people on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. What can you do to help me? And we create these events and these environments, and we're rolling out a platform that allows them to introduce and meet one another.
Abe, what about you? Where are you focusing most of your time right now? And maybe if you could tell us a little bit more about Fisherman Labs and your expansion here in LA.
Yeah, so again, I'm a partner of Fisherman Labs. We're great. You guys can look us up, fishermanlabs.com. But we're partnered with Control Collective. This is our building, and we're here in Playa Vista. We opened one up in downtown LA. We're opening up one in Hollywood, one in Pasadena. We're expanding to Colorado, Denver, and then Irvine and San Diego are our next frontiers. A lot of my time is spent on the technologies that we work with, right? So being in the technology industry, or in the tech industry, it's you have to have your processes in place, and you have to have the right programs and software that you utilize to manage everything. we have a lot of clients, so client relations is very important. So that's something I focus on. So the main things I focus on is client relations, making sure that that's staying on top of our project managers are staying on top of all that stuff. Our products are being hitting the deadlines, being created on time. Our processes, the technology we're using, what software we're using. Throwing great parties here. I don't know if you guys have been to our parties, but they were cool. Just saying. The Halloween one was pretty great. And then I try to travel and speak to some pretty cool people.
Yeah. Right on. Awesome. So Michelle, what about you? What are you up to right now in regard to Click Media Group? And also, are you seeing any interesting trends with Gen Z or anybody else out there?
I am fascinated by Gen Z. I think they're the coolest group of people. It's so interesting. Gen Z is so message driven and mission driven. And when we get people who reach out to us for who wear some of our other brands, it's a lot of like, hey, I'm a blogger, like check out my website. You might like my outfit pics, whatever. For Obsessi, we get emails that are so thoughtful, so articulate. Like, I am this person, I care about this. I've created this community for people who also care about this, and I'd love to talk to your readers about it. Like, they're very, very thoughtful. And I think they've told us that the biggest misconception about their generation is that they want like a watered down message and they only care about like quick fix content and that type of thing. They want things that are easy to consume. That's like a seamless content experience for them, but they don't want a watered down message. They're unafraid. And so it's been a really fulfilling group to create content for. And they're constantly educating us on the world and the direction it's going in. So Obsessi is a real precious and passion point brand for us as a company. But in general, I'm a one-woman team for creative strategy at our company. So I am trying to make sure we are serving best-in-class content in best-in-class ways at all times. So making sure that we are at the cutting edge of storytelling and creative ways to talk to our readers, and at the same time that it's very data-driven. And so I work with our editorial and audience development teams and our data team and our sales team to synthesize and guide our content strategy.
Very cool. At this point, I just wanted to open it up to questions in the audience. So I'm happy to jump around and give anyone the mic who has a question. Anybody out there have anything they want to ask any of our panelists here? No? Nothing? Not at all? Wow, okay. Cool. Well, can we give a big round of applause for our panelists here? Thank you so much for coming out. I know some of you had purchased that. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Where do you see things going like in the next 2 to 3 years? 2 to 3 years down the road?
In what regard? All regards. Content creation. Gotcha. Okay, go for it.
Oh, no, you can go.
So content's more of your guys' thing than I think it is mine. So,
well, it's like, it's really interesting to see this generation growing up with computers in their hands. I didn't get internet until I was like 12 years old, and my parents were really worried about that. Thank you, Mom and Dad, because they're watching this right now. But for me, I look at content creation and content digestion going more to the mobile. When I first began YouTube, maybe a quarter, 1 hour every 4 people watch something on their mobile phone. Now it's like kind of sickeningly high. It's like 80% for a lot of our content now. And I think what it comes down to is, content distribution and content that works well on the go, mobile phone. And when you see this younger generation getting older and older, they're going to want bite-sized content. And if they really want to sit down and watch something longer format, I think they're going to kind of go more towards like Hulu, Netflix, YouTube Red style. But for us, it's all about bite-sized, easy to digest, something with purpose, meaning behind it. And when you see things like Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, their feeds, it's saying that's all going to mobile phone.
Yeah, I would say more platform direct publishing. Everyone's going to have like an instant articles feature on their publishing platform. And then I think just creating those hyper engaged communities that have a quick feedback loop between creator and consumer.
Cool. Anyone else out there? We got a little time.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, maybe just talk as loud as you can.
My name is Frank Coleman. Like you mentioned, one tool that you're using Pub Exchange in your day-to-day work that helps you. And I was just wondering for all people, what other tools are you guys using in your day-to-day job to help you achieve what you need to be doing?
So in any regard?
In any regard. Yeah.
So for communication, Slack. For task management, Asana, Trello. For design, Sketch, InDesign, InVision. There's a few more, but that's just some of the stuff. Yeah, Zeppelin, there's so much stuff that every person in our field has to know a few programs and be a professional in each one. But like using Zero Inbox for email, just making sure that I think everyone here understands where we lack and what could make us better as an employee or as a business owner or whatever. We really have to start thinking about that and then figuring out what processes we can put in place to better ourselves, right? So that's, again, there's programs out there that'll help you do that. You just have to find them because everyone's a little different. And then just start, habits are hard to break, but just start, slowly adapting to that stuff, because the more efficient you are, the better your life's going to be, the more, your work's going to show through. So yeah, sorry.
And when it comes from like a content creator perspective, what's really interesting is we're what you call a 5-trick pony. Basically, you can do multiple things. And some of the biggest things I had to teach myself and still utilize today is Adobe Premiere, Photoshop. I'm not the animator, but I know how to animate. I know how to go into the Flash files and study all the notes and all the direction. And if there's like a mistake, I can go in and pinpoint it down to the exact frame and say, here's the problem. Here's how we adjust the problem. Audio equipment, cameras, different programs to handle audio, excuse me. But yeah, I think if you're a content creator, learn as many programs as you can to create your craft.
Yeah, I would agree with what both of these panelists said. And then also, we are using Dash Hudson for Instagram Insights. I love the team there. They've been really, really helpful. Just Instagram, you don't get too much there, so it's been helpful to have a partner there. And CrowdTangle, which was just acquired by Facebook, is really helpful at surfacing trending content. If you are in the business of creating content, especially if it's newsy, that's a great tool as well. But like Slack, Asana, same productivity
Google
tools.
Analytics, Facebook Pixel, all that good stuff. Yeah, I forgot about those things. There's just so much programs, you guys just got to research and implement what you think would be best for you guys.
Jim, back there, go for it.
Okay, good. So I'm kind of stimulated by the Gen Z, and also the fact that we have a global market out there, and obviously the influence of what Amazon's doing. Do you see what you're saying tonight about Gen Zs being just domestic Gen Zs, or is that international Gen Zs?
That's international. We see ourselves as a community more. That's how we position ourselves to our readers, and it's really global. Even when we launched in February, so we're still quite young and small. And we had girls reaching out to us from London and Paris who came across us through Instagram, like on their discovery page or because their friend tagged in them. So because of the global nature of social, we're global nature as a brand, and they want to participate and have their voice heard just as much. So that's our approach.
Anything else? Does anyone else have any more questions? No? Okay. Cool. Well, let's once again give a round of applause for our panelists. And thank you so much for coming out, guys. We do have the space until 9 o'clock, and I always encourage everyone to kind of mingle and just talk to each other. Part of this is networking and getting to know new people and learning from peers. So please make an attempt to do that. It always makes it more fun. So thank you guys all for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.